Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm trying to make an instructional on how we can collaborate. In this case, I'll be collaborating in respect or with respect to an event, and the event is here, but it's out of visual scope. So here I have collaborate as a type, but I have no path to it. Collaborate will be altered so that it becomes a name. So when we have a named concept, this word, in this case, for the process I'm trying to show, is that on this date of this event, which is referenced here as August 17th, this is the date of this event. So any collaboration with regard to this event has to be from that date. So what I do is I'll be inserting into collaborate the path to that date. And that date is conveyed as an event that's packaged and becomes an entity, and the entity in our concept of collaboration relays the informational parts that are a file type, a name, and a path. That's what it is to instantiate an entity as opposed to just text. Text posted obviously is an event because the text was posted, posited, and it's there, but it's not in relation, it's not in linkage with the other aspects that we know exist because there was a time that it happened, there was a person who did it, and there was an intention inherent in the process of taking the time to do it. What's lacking is that recognition that if we relate and link, we can inherit from that point forward the benefits that accrue if we establish relation and link in a manner that by the letter becomes A, B, C, D, or you'll see it, abracadabra. Abracadabra manifest as if I want to collaborate with regard to this event, I need not have all this other data, but that other data exists. It's just inherent, implied, and allows me to do that. So that now to collaborate, I'm in a package of the date, and that date will contain or should contain the aspect that is this named event, which I can copy and see if it was posted. So I do Control F to search for it, and in this case it indicates that it exists 6 times, so that my efforts as an administrator have noted it, posted it, but there's no depth to that process. The depth is the same recursive process where we take the name, recognize that the name is a representation, so it becomes symbolic. But the tokenization of the name differentiates that we have a name, it's a token that has both aspects, the event and the entity, so that I can go back to the event, but I was not able to come here from the event. So here's the event. I've altered now in a process I call typecasting, where now the type of relation exists so that I can click on it and go to the date, so that now the date itself becomes the container of the event, and the event is a container of my effort. My effort has in its own right an intention, and the intention we'll describe as the focus, and the focus has in its own right a point, and that point becomes the representation of first the event presented itself and I documented it, but behind it there's an intentionality. The intention is what we're trying to objectify, so that my focus has inherent in it an objective. So the object that I have, it's not manifest until I go through the process of relation and linking. In the metaphysical construct of everything that is, we just have to use intentionality to manifest it. It's through the process of relation and linking, and it's by the name that we can achieve that process. But the process has to include that convergence that we come together in the relation to the name. So this is not sounding the way I intend, because every word here, if a person is involved, will be evidencing the path. And the way I see it presently is we're using the pound sign to denote going from a point to a process where we seek to isolate the focus. And then that checkerboard represents the 9 positions that will establish relation and link, the center and middle indicating the focus. Beneath it will be the grounding, or the reality of what a thing is, whereas above it will be the ideal. To the left will be the prior, and to the right will be the next. So that we'll have a checkerboard indication wherein there's 9 positions that can be held by a point, and the relation and link between those points is represented by the conceptual framework of the points between the points, which we'll use a dash to represent that. So if we go from the focus of this event to the prior, at the focal point of action, it's the action that preceded this by myself. But in reality, the prior action is the artifact which we left, so that we can see the format is progressing and inheriting what it conveys at the lower level. The ideal is that we are pointing to typecasting, so that those typecast ideals can act as containers that establish those elements that convey the intention. So the intention is to relate and link through a circular process that iterates that aspect that relates and links and relates. So it becomes from and to, with the established ability to go to and from. And that's not imparting directionality, because the direction can be to the ideal or to the real, or from action to action, past, present, and future. And it can go to the entity or the event. We'll go into each of these in more detail. But for this one, we're going to start establishing the condition that recognizes who has already gone through this path, so that they leave footprints of what they did, how they did it, and the foundation or basis of doing so. So the word will become our initial point of convergence, so that we take any word back to a source. And at this point, we've reached the point where we need to break apart the word into the symbolic and the token, as well as the root, so that the root of the word becomes the intention behind conveyance of a word choice. We choose a word because it conveys the intention, and the intention has inherent in its use links and relations that if we don't surface, we'll have misunderstanding, or we'll have a condition where a person stands but they don't know what to do. The process remains always the same. The process is to relate and link, verify and validate, and then establish confirmation that it's achieving the intention. One of the biggest issues I've come against is people show up as though they're going to help, but then they don't apply a process where they seek to know. You don't need to think, you need to know, so that we can posit it, and then we can review it, and then we can, if there's disagreement, we can argue the fact, so that the fact becomes the A that we see and put in the place in the structure that the relation holds. It's not going to be that something is as it is. We're trying to achieve that it is as it should be. And the way it should be is, if we're working together, the path becomes obvious. It's circular. So the course must have that circularity. It must return to the base, or else you have a curse just going on and on and on. And that's what I've encountered. People coming, making plenty of entries, but none of their entries seek to link to the foundational aspect of the meaning of the word, the name, and the type, so that we're never able to get to the symbolic recognition of the symbol and the token, and bring those together so that the reflection becomes manifest. So we're going from an object to an objective. recognizing the entity and the event. It's a thing that's, the word comes to life, basically, so that the word is pregnant with the meaning. When you and I agree upon those relations and those links, every word has a contextual aspect that gives it link to the path that meets the objective. Thank you.